Welcome, witches, wizards, and muggles alike, to another enchanting episode of Magical Tales from the Slytherin Common Room, bringing your favorite Harry Potter fanfiction to audio format. So sit back, relax, and Accio headphones, and let the magic begin.
Two Weddings and a Manhunt by Deydralinne, Chapter 8, August 5th, 2003. "This is beautiful," Hermione stated, looking around from her seat at the bar table, a glass of champagne in front of her. Yes, the Greencrest family have always known how to pull off a rustic elegance better than anyone else, Draco volleyed, looking down into his drink briefly. "So I apologize in advance for turning a beautiful occasion into a meeting about us, but we should probably discuss the requirements," Hermione said nervously. Draco nodded. "No, that's fine, I agree. Charlene had said they applied from today onwards, so it's probably best we discuss it sooner rather than later, since our history with alcohol and decisions doesn't bode well for us." He joked and was pleased to see a small smile gracing her lips. "Well, I'm not sure how comfortable you would be staying at my place. I live in a renovated industrial studio, which is to say, it's all one room except the bathroom," she trailed off. "So your kitchen is about 10 feet from my bed," she finished. He blinked at her. "Is there not a sufficient cash prize attached to the Merlin First Order Award?" "Yes, there is. My choice to live in a studio is not for lack of money. I didn't feel the need to live in a mansion by myself." She raised her chin proudly. "I don't live there by myself," he muttered defensively. "Yes, well, all the same, in the spirit of honesty, I don't feel very comfortable staying at the manor either, and at the end of this, I should think we would like to return to our spaces without them feeling tainted in some way. What I'm trying to ask, rather poorly it seems, is if you would consider us finding a third neutral location in which we could reside for the next year." "That's a reasonable request, I suppose, though I think we should be hard-pressed to pull that off tonight." She laughed. "No, I suppose not. I was hoping you would be open to switching off every other night until we can find somewhere. I'll stay at the manor tonight. We can stay at my place tomorrow. I'll even let you take the bed." Draco opened his mouth to respond, but a loud crash sounded toward the dance floor. His head whipped up to see Theo's body writhing on the ground, his hands desperately scratching whatever part of his body he could get his hands on. Angry pink X's breaking out across the surface of his skin. Despite this, Theo was grinning up at Daphne, who scowled down at him before she stomped away. Draco strolled over to help him as the hex subsided. "She's my soulmate," Theo declared with a grin. Draco shook his head. "I don't think she got the memo on that one, mate." Theo stared after the blonde, who was now laughing, no doubt about the incident with Astoria. "Give it time." His face nearly split in two with how big his grin was. Draco rolled his eyes, patted Theo on the back, and retreated back to where Hermione sat watching with amusement. "What was that about?" "He thinks he's found love," Draco laughed when he was met with a disbelieving look. "Yeah, I know," he agreed with her unspoken doubts. He downed his drink quickly. "I suppose it's a fair trade-off to alternate between houses. I know you don't exactly have pleasant memories of the manor. If anything, it will serve as an incentive to find a third location faster, right? Though I should warn you, Mother can be nosy and overbearing at times, so I can't imagine the memories there will improve." It was Hermione's turn to blink. "I see. Should I assume you have yet to have a discussion with her about our situation?" She smirked at him. "I am not afraid of my mother, so you can stop looking at me like that. Our conversation today was brief. Speaking of which, how was your conversation with Potter?" He smirked when an annoyed scowl crossed her face. "Oh, yes, brilliant. Thanks for that. He thought you had imperioed me." "Naturally," Draco shrugged with a smile. "My mother was working under the presumption that you were blackmailing me, or that I was blackmailing you. But there was definite blackmail involved." She laughed. "I suppose our union is rather abrupt. We should discuss some ground rules, given that our intended plan of living our separate lives unaffected has obviously become null and void." Hermione nodded. "Quite. I would prefer that it remain the case as much as possible, though. We should approach this as a flatmate type situation." Draco blinked at her. "Flatmate? She rolled her eyes in response. I suppose it's not necessary among the rich and famous. It's two people who share a living space without regulation over the other person's life. You will be free to continue to date as you wish. Come and go as you please. You won't be required to tell me what time you will be home, etc., etc., vice versa, and all that rubbish. I see. Though, for the record, we are both rich and famous. Draco smiled into his drinks. Hence why I don't have a flatmate, she chuckled. I thought that was because you eat your meals in your bedroom, he quipped. She rolled her eyes. Draco sighed. We should think about issuing a statement, however. This is going to get out one way or another. I'm honestly surprised it hasn't already, and at least that way we will have control over the angle. That's not a bad idea. We can sit down tomorrow and decide on what we want to say, Hermione agreed. The penguins were a beautiful gift, Draco offered, and Draco noted that she smiled, more with her eyes. August 6, 2003. His eyes fluttered open the next morning and he nearly jumped out of his skin. Merlin, mother, could you not stand there watching me sleep? It's creepy. She raised an eyebrow at him and stared down at him sternly. You got home inappropriately late last night. I wasn't going to wait up, and then I woke up this morning to be informed that your bride has spent the night in the maid's quarters. Are you intending your wife to live a Cinderella life? A what? No, she wanted to be as close to the flow as possible. Understandably, she doesn't have the fondest memories of this house, Draco offered, sounding more snarky than he intended to. He threw back the covers and climbed out of bed, heading on a search for coffee. You know, given the last time she was here, she was brutally tortured and maimed. So she intends to live in the help's quarters for the rest of your lives, or will you be joining her? Her tone was full of disapproval. Draco threw a frown over his shoulder as he rushed down the stairs that suggested she was losing her mind. You have given me no information, Draco. What do you expect? You have left me no choice but to draw my own conclusions. He thought of entering the dining hall, but his mother was hot on his tail, and there was Hermione, sitting at the table with a terrified look on her face and a cup of coffee halfway to her mouth. At the last second, he steered away in the opposite direction and away from the dining hall. With any luck, his mother would follow, and she could lose her further in the house. Oh, for fuck's sake, Draco, where are you going? I feel like I deserve answers about this His mother's voice stopped, and so he stopped in his tracks too. Oh, I see. He turned to see his mother gliding into the dining hall. Damn it. Sorry, he muttered in Hermione's direction as they entered the hall. His mother was already taking her seat and observing Hermione studiously. Hello, his mother offered. Hermione looked at him in panic before smiling back at his mother. Good morning, Miss Malfoy. Narcissa, dear, after all, I am, it seems, your mother-in-law. Besides, Miss Malfoy reminds me of Lucius' mother, and boy, did I hate that woman. Rude old bitch she was. Draco poured himself a coffee. This was going to be a long morning. I hope you'll forgive my inquisitive nature, but Draco has given me next to no information, and I am rather curious. Narcissa looked up from Hermione to Draco with a pointed look. Draco's eyes flew to Hermione's face and was taken aback to see a smirk on her face staring back at him. Yeah, that one's all you, she told him before returning to her custard Danish and coffee. If Narcissa was displeased, she didn't show it. She didn't even look away from Draco. Mother, can I at least have coffee first? He groaned. I'm not stopping you, Narcissa quipped, waving her hand to indicate to carry on. Draco stood, staring at her for a moment, unsure of what to even say. The elongated silence only served to amuse Hermione more. Narcissa only huffed in annoyance. Oh, honestly, Draco, when did you two become involved? Hermione choked on her coffee, which Draco found he enjoyed very much. Hermione looked up to see him smirking at her and muttered something about being a tosser under her breath. We're not involved, Mother, he sighed, sitting down. Narcissa looked between them, narrowing her eyes. So this is a political marriage, then? Hermione cleared her throat. Draco just stared at his mother from the other end of the table. No, Mother, it is not a political move. Narcissa huffed in exasperated frustration. Are you really going to force me to play 20 questions, Draco? Oh, for Merlin's sake, Malfoy, just spit it out already. The poor woman has been far too patient with you. I'd have hexed you to oblivion already, freaking coward. Hermione threw her arms up before taking a deep breath. I do apologize, Miss Mount. Narcissa, Hermione corrected quickly when she caught sight of the woman's face. Unfortunately, this has been a rather large misunderstanding. Theodore kidnapped me, and, well, frankly, the bachelor party as a whole, and we ended up in Las Vegas. When we woke up the next morning, that Pratt and I were married. I don't even have any recollection of it. It seems that making this disappear isn't quite going to be a simple process. There are certain guidelines that we have to abide by in order to progress with a divorce. I truly am very sorry. I am sure I am the last person you want your son attached to, and for something as awful as a divorce to be a part of his marital history. Hermione trailed off as Narcissa raised her hand to stop talking. The tension was thick in the air as Narcissa closed her eyes and focused on her breathing. Eventually, she rose with grace from her chair. I see, was all she said before floating from the room. Draco and Hermione blinked at the door she had disappeared through. Draco scoffed, drawing her attention back to him. Nice going, Granger. You probably caused my mother a heart attack. Did you have to be so cavalier about it? He growled. Rage flowed through her. If you would have just told her in the first place instead of torturing the poor woman, then I wouldn't have had to get involved at all, she snapped, standing quickly. You know what, Malfoy? Bite me. She picked up a muffin from the pastry tray and threw it at him, which was quickly followed by several more before she stormed from the room. Draco sat, crumbled bits of blueberry muffin strewn across his person and pajamas, the majority lying neglected on the floor. No one, not in his entire life, had thrown muffins at his head, and the audacity that this witch to do so, in his own home no less, shocked him. So he did what he set out to do in the first place, drink his damn coffee.